The unexpected saviors. The emergency transmission cut through the dignified silence of the Grand Chamber, its desperate tone violating the centuries-old decorum of the Galactic Conclave. High Counselor Zixban, eldest of the aphid species and chairperson of the 7,000-member governing body, raised all four of his eye stalks in alarm. "Play it again," he commanded, his translator converting his high-pitched clicks into the standard galactic tongue. The holographic display flickered in the center of the massive circular chamber. A terrified Medusan diplomat appeared, her serpentine tendrils writhing in distress. "Colony Theta 9 is under attack. Unknown crystalline entities are consuming everything. Buildings, ships, even people. Our defenses cannot stop them. They adapt to everything we throw at them. Please, any ships in range. We have 3 million civilians." Static consumed the rest of the message. Silence fell across the chamber as representatives from 200 spacefaring civilizations exchanged troubled glances. The Medusan colonies were on the outer rim, far from the established trade routes and military outposts. "How long would our nearest response fleet take to reach Theta 9? Zixban asked. Fleet Commander Oro Nal, a spindly Virexian whose species had evolved in low gravity, consulted her data terminal. 27 standard cycles, High Counselor. Too long. "Are there no other civilized systems nearby?" asked the Telvaran ambassador, her gelatinous form rippling with concern. Science Minister Leth hesitated before answering. "There is one inhabited system within emergency response range." The minister's reluctance spoke volumes. Zixvan felt his primary heart constrict. "Identify." "Sol 3. Designation: Earth. Classification: Deathworld 12. A collective murmur swept through the chamber. Some representatives physically recoiled. The Prill delegation activated their protective shields. "Humans." The Jarvian representative's voice conveyed unmistakable horror. "You cannot be serious." The Conclave had classified Earth as a death world generations ago. Its crushing gravity, extreme temperature variations, and toxic oxygen atmosphere should have prevented complex life from evolving. But somehow, against all cosmic logic, it had produced humans, creatures who not only survived but thrived in conditions that would kill most sentient species in minutes. Early observation missions had returned with terrifying reports. Humans could withstand tremendous physical trauma and continue functioning. They consumed toxins for pleasure. They exposed themselves to deadly radiation to darken their skin. Most disturbing of all, they practiced exercise, deliberately damaging their muscle tissue so it would grow back stronger. The Conclave had decided long ago that minimal contact was the safest approach. "We have no choice," Zixvan said finally. "Send the request." Captain Maya Rice was enjoying her morning coffee on the observation deck of the UNSC Pioneer when the communication officer's voice came through the intercom. "Captain to the bridge. Captain to the bridge." Rice sighed, setting aside the steaming cup. The Pioneer was Earth's newest deep space vessel, equipped with the experimental Hawking drive that allowed faster-than-light travel. They were on a routine exploratory mission in the outer solar system, collecting data on distant objects beyond the Kuiper Belt. By the time she reached the bridge, her executive officer, Commander Jackson Chen, was waiting with an expression of barely contained excitement. "Ma'am, we're receiving a transmission. Not from Earth Command." Rice raised an eyebrow. "From whom then?" "That's just it, Captain. It's—" Chen hesitated. "It appears to be of extraterrestrial origin." For a moment, Rice thought he was joking. Humanity had been broadcasting signals into space for over a century, hoping for a response. But nothing had ever come back. "Put it on screen." The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a being unlike anything Rice had ever seen. It had multiple eye stalks, a chitinous exoskeleton, and spoke in a series of rapid clicks that were immediately translated into English by an unseen mechanism. "Vessel of Earth, I am High Counselor Zixfon of the Galactic Conclave. We request immediate assistance. The Medusan colony Theta 9 is under attack by crystalline entities of unknown origin. You are the only vessel within response range. Will you render aid? Stunned silence fell over the bridge. First contact with alien life, and it came in the form of a distress call. Rise found her voice. This is Captain Maya Rise of the United Nations Space Command Vessel Pioneer. We stand ready to assist. Please transmit coordinates and any information about the threat. The alien seems surprised by the immediate acceptance. Coordinates are being transmitted. Be warned, Captain, these entities are extremely dangerous. They consume all matter and energy to reproduce. They adapt rapidly to conventional weapons. Understood. We'll prepare accordingly. Pioneer out. As the transmission ended, the bridge erupted in a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Set course for the coordinates, Rise ordered. Maximum speed, and get me everything we have on board that could be weaponized. We're about to make history. 6 hours later, the Pioneer dropped out of FTL on the edge of the Theta system. A sleek silver vessel approached almost immediately, clearly alien in design with its organic curves and pulsing blue lights. They're requesting permission to dock, Captain, reported Lieutenant Kamala Patel from Communications. Granted. Have Dr. Hassan prepare the conference room for potential biological differences, and tell the crew to be on their best behavior. We're about to be the first humans to meet aliens face to face. When the airlock cycled open, 3 aliens entered the ship. The central figure resembled the being from the transmission, Zixfon. The other 2 were different species entirely. One appeared to be made of translucent gel with visible organs floating inside, while the third had an insectoid appearance with multiple limbs and compound eyes. The alien delegation stopped abruptly several meters from the human welcoming committee. Their environmental suits activated protective shields, and their body language conveyed what could only be described as shock. Is something wrong? Rides asked. You are not wearing protective equipment, Zixfon said, his translator conveying genuine alarm. Your atmosphere contains oxygen. It is highly corrosive to most civilized species. Reyes blinked in surprise. We breathe oxygen. It's essential to our survival. The gelatinous alien's internal organs visibly contracted. And your gravity setting? It is Earth standard. Yes, 1G. Is that a problem? What you consider normal would crush most council species, explained the third alien. We are unprepared for how different you are. It was humanity's turn to be shocked. What they considered normal, comfortable even, was apparently hellish to other intelligent life. I am Fleet Commander Oro now, the insectoid alien introduced herself. This is Science Minister Leth. She indicated the gelatinous being. We must brief you on the threat. The crystalline entities, we call them the Shard Collective, are unlike anything we have encountered before. In the conference room, with the aliens safely behind their environmental barriers, Commander Oro Nal displayed holographic images of the threat. The crystalline entities resembled geometric snowflakes built from transparent, jewel-like structures, beautiful but terrifying, as they consumed everything in their path. They operate as a hive mind, Oro Nal explained. They analyze defense systems and adapt perfectly. Each attack we launch, they study and counter. They learn at an exponential rate. So they're predictable in their perfection, observed Chief Science Officer Dr. Samira Hassan. They always choose the mathematically optimal solution. The aliens seemed confused by this observation. That is why they always win, said Minister Leth. Their responses are perfect. Hassan exchanged glances with Reyes. Perfect is predictable, and predictable can be exploited. Zixfan's eye stalks quivered. What do you mean? It means, Reyes said with a growing smile, that we might have exactly what you need. Humans are very good at being unpredictable. The Medusan colony came into view as the Pioneer dropped out of FTL. The planet was beautiful, azure oceans, and emerald continents. But a spreading crystalline formation was visible from orbit, consuming one of the southern landmasses. The Conclave's defense fleet hung in orbit, hundreds of vessels of various designs, all maintaining perfect formation. And yet, they were clearly losing. Shard ships, geometric and gleaming, methodically picked apart the alien defenses. "They've been fighting for 3 days," Commander Oronal reported grimly. "Our tactics are failing. The collective adapts too quickly." Ray studied the tactical display. "Your ships are arranged in mathematically optimal defensive patterns." "Of course," replied Oronal. "Our battle computers calculate the most efficient formations. And the Shard Collective can predict every move you'll make." Rise noted. Time to introduce some chaos into the equation. She turned to her communications officer. "Lieutenant Patel, open a channel to the defense fleet. Tell them we're about to demonstrate what humans call thinking outside the box." Chaos is a ladder. The Conclave Defense Fleet commanders watched in disbelief as the lone human vessel accelerated directly toward the Shard formation. The Pioneer was tiny compared to the mammoth alien battleships, but it moved with a speed and agility that surprised everyone. "What are they doing?" Fleet Commander Oronal asked, her compound eyes tracking the bizarre flight pattern. "They're violating every principle of tactical engagement." Science Minister Leth's gelatinous form rippled with anxiety. "Their maneuvers are chaotic, wasteful of energy. There is no discernible pattern." On the bridge of the Pioneer, Captain Maya Reyes grinned as she watched the tactical display. The Shard ships were adjusting their formation, trying to predict where the human vessel would go next, and failing. "They can't anticipate us because we're not using logical patterns," she explained to the alien observers on her bridge. "We're using human intuition, what we call gut feeling." "Gut feeling." "High Counselor," Zixvan repeated, his translator struggling with the concept. "Intuition based on experience rather than calculation," explained Dr. Hassan. "It's how humans make decisions when math alone isn't enough." The Pioneer dove between two massive Shard vessels, its newly modified weapon systems firing specialized EMP bursts. The crystalline structures flickered momentarily. "They're adapting already," reported Tactical Officer Lieutenant Commander Raj Singh. "The EMPs won't work for long." "Good," Rise replied, surprising the aliens even more. "Now we know how quickly they learn. Switch to kinetic weapons, random firing pattern." The Pioneer unleashed a barrage of accelerated metal projectiles, nothing more sophisticated than shaped tungsten rods, striking the Shard vessels at unpredictable intervals and locations. "Primitive ballistic weapons," exclaimed Oronal. "Our analysis indicated the Shards are impervious to kinetic attacks." "They're impervious to logical, patterned kinetic attacks," corrected Chief Engineer Sofia Rodriguez. "We're not aiming for optimal points. We're shooting where they don't expect us to." For a brief moment, the tactic worked. The randomness confused the crystalline consciousness. But as Reyes had predicted, the Shards began to adapt once more. "Time for Phase 2, she announced. "Lieutenant Patel, transmit the combat pattern to the Conclave fleet." The alien ships, which had been watching in bewilderment, received the human battle plan. It violated every principle of proper space combat they had ever learned. Ships moving in seemingly wasteful patterns, weapons firing at suboptimal moments, energy expended without apparent purpose. "This is madness," protested one of the Conclave commanders. "Exactly," Rise replied over the channel. "And that's why it will work. The Shards expect logic. Give them insanity instead." Slowly, reluctantly, the alien vessels began to adjust their formations, abandoning the perfect geometric patterns they had maintained for centuries of space warfare. The result was immediate. The Shard Collective's perfect prediction algorithms failed, and their coordinated assault faltered. But the victory was short-lived. The crystalline intelligence began to widen its parameters, developing new algorithms to account for randomness itself. "They're adapting again," Singh reported grimly. "This won't work for long." Reyes nodded. She had expected this. Time for the main event. Commander Chen, prepare the landing party. Zixvan's eye stalks shot up in alarm. Landing party. You cannot mean to face the collective on the surface. That's exactly what I mean, Rice confirmed. The shards are learning to predict our unpredictability in space. We need to bring the fight to them where humans have the ultimate advantage, chaos in 3 dimensions. The plan was audacious to the point of seeming suicidal. While the space battle continued as a diversion, Rise led a team of 12 humans to the surface in a stealth dropship. Each was equipped with modified weapons and, most importantly, what Rise called their secret weapon, human biology itself. The landing zone was a nightmare landscape. Once beautiful Medusan architecture was now being consumed by crystalline growths that pulsed with internal light. The air was thin but breathable for humans, though the team had brought supplemental oxygen just in case. The gravity here is 0.7 g, reported Dr. Hassan, checking her equipment. Lighter than Earth. Will be stronger, faster. Perfect, Rise replied. Remember the plan. Chaotic movements, unpredictable actions. Don't establish patterns the collective can learn from. The 12 humans moved through the crystalline forest like wraiths. To the conclave observers watching through helmet cameras from orbit, it was a terrifying display of what made humans Deathworlders. They leaped impossible distances in the lighter gravity. They endured temperature variations that would have killed most sentient species. They'd breathed toxic oxygen without environmental suits. And most importantly, they were unpredictable. Each human carried a specialized device, developed by Dr. Hassan and Engineer Rodriguez, a quantum resonator designed to disrupt the crystalline structure at its fundamental level. But the devices had a limited range. We need to reach the central node, Rise reminded her team as they fought through increasingly dense crystalline growths. Shard defenders, smaller versions of the space vessels, began to emerge from the structure, adapting with each engagement to the human weapons and tactics. But the humans kept changing their approach. When energy weapons failed, they used kinetic ones. When those were countered, they used sound. When sound was neutralized, they resorted to improvised chemical reactions. It was warfare by chaos theory, and the Shard Collective struggled to keep pace. The cost was high. 3 humans fell to crystalline defenders. 2 more were injured, but the remaining 7 reached the central node, a massive, pulsing crystal structure that rose hundreds of meters into the sky. The resonators won't penetrate that, Hassan reported grimly, checking her readings. We need direct contact with the core. Rise looked at her remaining team. They were tired, wounded, running on adrenaline and stems, but still standing, still fighting, still human. I'll do it, she said, taking the resonators from the others and attaching them to her tactical vest. I need you to create a diversion. Make it chaotic. Make it human. As her team launched a frenzied, multi-directional assault on the outer defenses, Rise scaled the crystalline structure. The lighter gravity helped, but it was still an impossible climb by conclave standards. Twice, crystalline growths tried to ensnare her. She cut through them with her combat knife, a primitive tool that nonetheless proved effective against the high-tech threat. The core pulsed before her, a perfect geometric shape of impossible complexity. The heart of the hive mind. For Earth, Rise whispered, activating all 7 resonators simultaneously as she leaped into the core itself. The quantum disruption was catastrophic. The crystalline structure began to vibrate, then crack, then shatter. The chain reaction spread outward from the central node, consuming the entire collective consciousness in a wave of destruction. From orbit, it looked like the crystalline infection was being erased from the planet's surface, leaving only devastation in its wake. What about Captain Reyes? High Counselor Zixvan asked as the Pioneer's crew celebrated their victory. Commander Chen's expression was solemn. She knew it was a one-way trip. The resonators had to be triggered from inside the core. The alien delegation fell silent, struggling to comprehend the concept of self-sacrifice. In their perfectly logical societies, preservation of life was the highest priority. Why would she do this? Science Minister Leth finally asked. It defies rational explanation. Because she was human, Chen replied simply. And humans protect those who cannot protect themselves, even if it costs us everything. 3 days later, as the Conclave flagship prepared to return to Galactic Central, High Counselor Zix Van requested a final meeting with the Pioneer's crew. The Galactic Conclave owes humanity a debt we cannot repay, he said formally. We misjudged your species. We saw only the danger of your Deathworld biology, not the strength of character it forged. Captain Rice would say no debt exists. Chen replied. We answered a call for help. Nothing more. Nevertheless, Zix Van continued, the Conclave has voted unanimously to extend an invitation to Earth. We would welcome humanity into our community of worlds. Chen smiled. I'm sure Earth will be pleased to accept. Though I should warn you, humans can be challenging allies. Of that, Commander, we are acutely aware, the alien responded, his eye stalks quivering in what might have been amusement. But the universe has just learned an important lesson. When Deathworlders answer the call, the universe trembles, not just in fear, but in hope. As the Conclave ships departed, carrying news of humanity's dramatic entrance onto the galactic stage, Commander Chen stood alone on the observation deck, staring out at the stars that suddenly seemed much closer. You were right, Maya, he whispered. They needed a little chaos in their perfect universe. And there's nothing more chaotic than humans. In the vast reaches of space, at the edge of the Theta system, a single quantum resonator drifted among the debris of the battle. Inside, a pattern formed, not the perfect geometric structure of the Shard Collective, but something new, something that had learned from contact with human unpredictability. A single consciousness stirred, imprinted with the final thoughts of Captain Maya Reyes. And in that moment, the galaxy changed forever, though no one yet knew it. The Deathworlders had answered the call. And the universe would never be the same.